I don't know about y'all, but this whole Gabe Davis discussion that I've been seeing on Twitter the past few days, got me thinking a bit. It's not just about Gabe Davis himself, like the player and his role in Buffalo's offense, but it's the total offense. It's the fact that he's connected to Josh Allen, a great fantasy quarterback, real life quarterback, and also the team itself. So I got to thinking a bit. What other offenses should we be targeting? So let's go ahead and put some analysis together, put some thought into it, and figure out some of the other offenses you should be targeting in this week's episode of By the Numbers. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. How should we be figuring out which offenses we should be targeting? I mean, you already know which ones we should be looking at just based off the quarterbacks that we're drafting. We shouldn't have to tell you to draft Russell Wilson or any of the Denver pieces. You're already doing that. Cortland Sutton's ADP is sky high right now. So how should we find some of the optimal targets for the offenses we should be getting pieces of in best ball? So in order to do that, let's go ahead and take a look at it real quick. Let me show you guys what I've done here. So I took total average draft position for all the players on a particular team. So if you were to take all the guys from Cincinnati, from Joe Burrow all the way down to, let's say, Hayden Hurst, add all those ADPs together and you get a value. And then you take all the projections, like the total points that a player is projected to score in the 2022 season. We've got all those projections on Footballguys site, footballguys.com. Go ahead and check that out. Add those together, you get a separate value. And then you can see the plot that I've put up here on the screen right now. But like I said beforehand, you already know to draft Tampa Bay, Minnesota, Cincinnati, all of those other teams. So the guys that I want to try and focus on, the teams that I want to focus on, are the teams you see right there in that red box, the teams that we know should score a decent amount of points just based off of our projections, but they also have guys that are coming at values. So guys that are being drafted, let's say, in the mid to late rounds, but are still going to be a part of potentially fantasy productive or fantasy friendly offenses. So those are the teams that I want to be looking at. So here are a few teams that I'm going to be targeting in my drafts, or I have been targeting my drafts, and you should too. And the first one that I want to look at is the Miami Dolphins. Now, of course, that comes with some uncertainty at the quarterback position because we don't know if Tua is ready to make that leap, as we've seen him over the past couple of seasons struggle. But we already know up at the top that they've got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, two wide receivers being drafted in the second and third round that have some potential in order to lift the rest of the squad alongside of them. And with Mike McDaniel, I think some of the assumption is that they're going to be a run-heavy team. Like that's what they're going to do, because we looked at what San Francisco has been for the past few seasons. But if you look at Jimmy Garoppolo from 2017 to 2021 was fourth in EPA per play, one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the league. And that is what the 49ers offense has been predicated on, is efficiency. Well, you're not going to get much more efficient or much more explosive than the two wide receivers that they've got. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, both top 10 in yards after the catch just last season. Alongside of them, Mike Gesicki was 14th in yards per route run amongst all tight ends. Chase Edmonds was also in the top 20 in terms of yards per route run and yards after the catch amongst all running backs. So this is both an efficient and explosive offense. So I would be trying to target them as much as possible. And as you saw there up in the chart, and I'll throw that up there again, you can get either one of the two top end wide receivers at some affordable prices for at least the projected volume and also the level of productivity that we expect from them. But if you look at any of the other pieces, Mike Gesicki is being drafted around the tight end 11-12 range. Raheem Mostert, who we know has some speed, assuming health, he should be available for you at least in the earlier parts of the season. He's your RB4, RB5. Again, another component of your best ball roster that you would want to have to provide you that punch to get you through the earlier parts of the seasons. And then Cedric Wilson, he's a guy I've been targeting late because he's popped up for a number of games when he was still a part of Dallas's squad. Now he gets, for at least where he's being drafted at, 17th, 18th round, not a bad bet for that type of value. Moving on to another offense I'm looking at, the Colts offense, again, up at the top, you're probably not going to be able to get Jonathan Taylor unless you get a top 3 pick, but the other components to that particular offense, Michael Pittman, if you've read any of the work that's done by Matt Harmon on Michael Pittman, he's prime target for a breakout season. top percentile in terms of being able to beat man and press coverage. And then if you go back to one of the videos that I did, this was maybe about a month or so ago, looking at Nyheim Hines and his efficiency as a receiver. He wasn't taking just like the dump off targets from Carson Wentz last year. He was actually running legitimate routes. I mean, also and being efficient with those routes. And we've heard a number of interviews from Chris Ballard and also Frank Reich saying that they want to get him involved in the passing game. So if it's not him, I mean, if it's not Jonathan Taylor, I mean, we can at least bet on Nyheim Hines also being a larger part like of this offense this season. And then, of course, any of the other guys that are going behind him, Alec Pierce from my alma mater, University of Cincinnati, Paris Campbell, Ohio State. I mean, those are two wide receivers, especially where they're going at in drafts. T.Y. Hilton, at this point, it's like early July. I haven't heard any movement on him coming back to the team. So it does look like, at least from a wide receiver 2 standpoint, either one of those two guys will fit the bill. And for tight ends, Mo Alley Cox, Colts have been in the at or above the league average in targets to the tight end position for the past 4 consecutive seasons. So we know that he should be involved at some point. So again, for where they're being drafted in best ball drafts right now, I mean, the value is certainly there. The targets are going to certainly be there for them at some point throughout the season. Matt Ryan last year with a much worse supporting cast, 4 games with 300 yards and multiple touchdowns. And now he has better offensive line, better supporting cast. Just again, all of those guys that are being drafted late scream value to me. So if I'm not drafting Matt Ryan, I'm certainly trying to get a number of the Colts guys. And looking at their schedule throughout the fantasy playoffs, I mean, they have Minnesota, they got the Chargers, they've got the Giants. The Chargers should be a rough matchup, but definitely want to target that Week 17 matchup like against the Giants. That should be at least a fantasy-friendly like game for them. One more offense that I want to target, and I know that might come with at least not too much of a shock because I know everybody is kind of hyped up for Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And again, looking at their chart, up at the top, I mean, Travis Etienne's coming at a fairly reasonable value right now, which he could slide throughout the remainder of the offseason just based off of some other news that we're expecting to come over the next few weeks. But Christian Kirk affordable, I mean, Marvin Jones, any of those other guys that are in the back, I think it just really hedges on Trevor Lawrence. But the thing about Trevor Lawrence, if you look at just his raw completion percentage like last year, back end of the league, completion percentage over expected, EPA per play, I mean, fairly low for a rookie quarterback, especially a rookie quarterback taken first overall. But the other thing that I was looking at, his completion percentage like on play action plays. I mean, he had one of the largest differentials between non-play action and play action plays, according to Pro Football Focus. And Doug Peterson, I mean, coming in now, like not just to be an adult, like in this situation, like after having Urban Meyer there last year, but Urban Meyer was using play action top 10 over the past like 4 seasons with Carson Wentz. That's what made Carson Wentz a more efficient passer, like when he was there in Philadelphia. And now we can expect the same like for Trevor Lawrence. So that really unlocks some of the other players that we want to target in that offense. I mean, whether it is Christian Kirk up at the top, Zay Jones, who's playing fairly well once he was on better track, like with Derek Carr in Las Vegas, even Visca, if you still believe in him. But you can see the path for all of those guys having some sort of value there, especially where they're being drafted as of right now. So there you have it, folks. I mean, 3 offenses that I'm targeting right now, and especially for Jacksonville, one more point on them. Jets and Houston, last 2 weeks of the fantasy playoffs. So you can't beat that. Like for the folks that are hopping in the Best Ball Mania 3 that's going on right now over on Underdog Fantasy. So again, if you love the content, appreciate y'all checking this out. Like, subscribe to any of the rest of the analysts that are here at Football Guys. Appreciate y'all, and I will catch y'all next week. Peace.